the limiting beliefs about putting yourself first. Welcome to the Hopefulist with me, Wendy McClure. A Hopefulist is the woman who takes control of her life to feel vibrant, alive, and passionate. I help uncover the limiting beliefs that have held women back for so long so you can step into your true, authentic self and live the life that is truly meant for you. Because you matter. Thank you so much for being here today. I want to applaud you for taking these steps to make life a little bit better for yourself and hopefully pass on some of this knowledge and information on to other women in your life, especially young women who are just coming up now, these newer generations, and making sure that they realize that they deserve to be put first in their life. You know, the generations after us, the Gen X people, we definitely never were made to feel like we were special. And I think after our generation is when that started to change a little bit. I say that about millennials and the Gen Z and, of course, Gen Alpha coming up now, that everybody got the participation trophy and nobody wanted to hurt anybody's feelings and everybody wanted to be included. And I think that a lot of the reason that that started happening is because we as Gen Xers wanted better for our kids. We knew what it was like to grow up and not feel special, to not even matter. Really, we were on our own and we had to make our own way in the world. And it left us lacking a lot, especially happiness. So I think that the Gen X generation really wanted it better for their children. So that's when things started to change. And I think it is a good change. You know, I used to think that, why does everybody think they're special now? Well, because everybody is special. And just because Gen X was told they weren't special their whole lives doesn't mean that it's true. That's a limiting belief because you are special, just like I am special. We are the only us in the entire world. And that in and of itself is special. We have this limiting belief that we have to follow the rules of society. And we all know this is a patriarchal society. And that's not really helping anybody, least of all women. Well, it might be helping the men. So instead of the quote of the day, I wanted to tell you this, that I heard from somebody talking about what they heard from a therapist, and it's something that has always stuck with them. When you are not used to having confidence, confidence will feel like arrogance. When you are used to being passive, assertiveness will feel like aggression. And when you're not used to getting your needs met, prioritizing yourself feels selfish. And I find these to be so true and so accurate. And again, all of this comes down to the limiting beliefs that we have embraced our entire lives. Because when it comes to women, a lot of us don't have confidence. And that is because we have been told over and over again that we are not special. When it came to, being celebrated, we were often not celebrated for things that we did, but we were punished for the things that we did wrong or didn't do. Do you know what I mean? So, and again, this is a family thing. Each person is going to have a different experience with this, but I got myself in way more trouble than I was ever pointed out that I was doing well at something. So there was a lot less negativity coming at us than positivity. And again, I think that's another thing that we have changed in the generations that have come after us. So, to make this even a little bit further, women who point out their strengths, they are often looked down upon. They are considered conceited. They are considered full of themselves. And we have learned to be right in this. We are supposed to look outside of ourselves for reinforcement. And that in itself is the whole shebang, people. Yeah, that is the whole thing. We are constantly looking outside of ourselves for reinforcement, for being told that we're doing the right thing, to being made to feel special, to looking the right way, to feeling the right way, to acting the right way. We are constantly looking outside of ourselves for approval for all of those things that I just mentioned. I have talked about this before. If there is a woman that for some reason she probably just maybe rubs you the wrong way, but you can't really put your finger on it, these women often are described as unlikable. It's usually because they're doing something that you wish you could do. If you can't really put your finger on exactly why you don't like a particular woman, it's usually because she's doing something that you have grown up thinking was wrong. Somebody who is confident, somebody who says it like it is, somebody who stands up for themselves, and somebody who points out the fact that they've worked hard and that they're really good at certain things. A lot of women do not like to hear other women say things like that because we have a limiting belief that we are not supposed to. We are supposed to wait and get a compliment. And even then, even when we do get a compliment, oh, it's no big deal. If somebody compliments your looks, I was in such a rush today. We brush off the compliments. Like, we have just been trained to never be happy. Honestly, think about it. We are guided to look outside of ourselves for reinforcement, for approval. And even when we get it, we excuse it away. What is wrong with us? It's the system. The system has set us up to always be behind the eight ball, to always be behind, to never be enough. It is constant. And hopefully the older you get, the more that you see that we have all been put in a position where we cannot win when it comes to society standards. This is why we need to take back our power and chart our own path, make our own rules. And for those who think less of you for it, let them feel less, think less of you. Because when it comes down to it, I think that a majority of us are looking for peace in our lives. We just want to be at peace. We don't want to be, mixed up in the drama all the time or agitated all the time. And if you're going to worry about what other people are saying about you, you will never be able to stop the drama or stop the aggravation. And I need to learn this as well. It's hard. I know that it's hard. But what I've been trying to remind myself as of recently is, if that person is in my life or out of my life, how does it change my life? Is it changing my life on a day-to-day basis? If not, then it's probably not something that I should worry about too much. And if it is somebody that I see regularly and then all of a sudden things change, I've said this before, you can reach out, ask what the problem is. I have done that in the past. I have not received real, true answers. I've had friends ghost me in the past where I've tried to reach out and say, hey, what's going on? Because I'm feeling some distance and I've gotten, oh, I've just been busy. There are times that has happened and I didn't try and reach out because sometimes it's very obvious. It's hanging out, and then all of a sudden, no contact. And judging from what's happened to me in the past, I have chosen not to reach out just for the fact of it's become quite clear that this person does not want to hang out with me anymore. And the other thing that I struggle with a lot is why. I seem to have a problem with holding on to friends. I seem to have a problem with not getting into arguments with people that I spend time with. Okay, is this a me problem? Because typically it would be a me problem because I'm the common denominator, right? I was talking about this a few weeks ago. And I just think about the fact now with how is this going to affect my daily life? And although I feel sad and although I feel disappointed, sometimes relationships are just have a time period, a time limit, and you need to move on from them. I personally, I like to be treated with respect, and I don't think that's too much to ask. And if I'm not being respected, then I am going to say something. And this leads me to the second limiting belief that we have, which is women are supposed to be polite. We're not supposed to speak up. We're not supposed to speak up for ourselves. We are not supposed to speak out against things that we see as injustice. We're supposed to know our place and back up our husbands, right? This is what we grew up on. This is what we were told is the way things are. Gen X was the first real generation of women who went to college and pursued a career potentially before marriage, but we were still given the idea that marriage and family was the end-all be-all. That was the goal. And I still sometimes feel like I'm wrong because I don't have children. It's not something that I really focus on, though. So I don't give it any oxygen to get it to a place where it would bother me. Now, when I was single, that was a completely different story. I felt pressure from everywhere. And a lot of that probably was brought on by myself because I just had this belief that I was nobody without a man. And I'm sorry to say that. And that's how I felt for so long. And now I realize that I have, and this is coming out in real time. I'm just having a realization right now. A lot of that was placed on me by me. Because like I said, I don't really feel that when it comes to the children part. So I probably just focused on that, the being single aspect, way more than I focused on not being a mother aspect. Because I really just don't let it bother me. One, I didn't set out to not have children. Two, I didn't set out to have children. But I was much older when I got married. I was over 40. And it just didn't happen. There was nothing that I could do about that. So when it comes to women and speaking up for themselves, a lot of people don't like that, men and women included. I play pickleball, and I'm sure you're getting tired of hearing, but I'm guessing because it's a lot of the older generation that I play with, and they seem to think that they can treat me, talk to me a certain way that is different from how they would speak to the men that they're playing in the group. You know, I just had an incident today where the man that I was playing with, first time I had met him, playing with him for the first time, and it was extremely windy. So I'm not a great player on a good day. So when it's extremely windy, I am making more mistakes than usual. And apparently the guy that I was playing with has to win at all costs or he's going to be miserable. And I don't understand people that come out to recreational play that cannot have fun if they lose, because you don't have your choice of partner. We do like a round robin where everybody plays with everybody else and it's all spread out. And if the only way you are going to have fun is if you win, you are setting yourself up for misery. So I love to play, and that's why I go, because I love playing. I'm competitive and I like to win, but it's not going to make me miserable if I don't. So on to the point of my story is, he was starting to get annoyed with the mistakes that I was making. I could sense it. I could feel it. I don't say anything. I just continue to play. And it got to a point where a ball was hit right in front of me, and he came running over from his side of the court to try and hit the ball. So, because he clearly thought I was going to miss it. And so when he did that, he nearly fell over. He lost his balance because he ran so far and he almost fell over. And I was like, wow, this guy's running so fast because he thinks that I can't hit the ball. And he goes, it's called a poach. I was poaching. And I just went, yeah, I know what it's called. And I just left it at that. So at that point, when he's like, I don't know if he thinks I don't know the game and I don't know what poaching is, but poaching is when you grab a shot that's really intended for somebody else if you can get to it. Not if you have to run across the court and practically fall over to get to the ball. That's called stupid. I have fun. It's fun. Now that I'm, making fun of this guy because he deserves to be made fun of. So these are some of the things that I come into contact with on a regular basis. And I think that, men in the generation ahead of us really still feel that women should know their place. That's how they were brought up. That's the luxury that they had as being men in the generation that they were in. Women were to kind of, I don't want to say the word bow down, but, just kind of seek out the men and what they wanted. And women wouldn't talk back to a man in that time because women needed to stay in their lane, to know their place, to not make a scene. You've heard that, right? Women are hysterical. That makes me so crazy. Makes me so crazy. Because when women get upset, they might be screaming, they might be yelling, they might be crying. A lot of that has to do with the fact that, a lot of times we're getting the short end of the stick. But also, a lot of us, especially in Gen X, have not learned how to regulate our emotions properly. And there is books that you can do, that you can read on helping you with that situation. But until you try to address it and try to change it, you're going to act out in certain ways. And they're not the most healthy ways. But when they try to call women hysterical for the way that they react, it's to label them as difficult. Men have emotions as well, but for some reason, somewhere anger is not being considered an emotion, like women are considered emotional when they cry or when they speak up. When women speak out and they're having an emotional response to something, they are, I'm trying to think of the right wording here, they are considered emotional people. It's not to do with the circumstance. It's them overall. So if you're at work one time and somebody keeps giving you a hard time about something and they keep at you and you finally lose your cool and you're like, I don't know what to tell you. Well, then you're a difficult person. Where men, on the other hand, usually, and not all the time, but usually get judged on the situation. Where people, both men and women, are more likely to ask when a man has an angry outburst, well, what was going on? Did somebody provoke him? Where when women have the same outburst, she's just labeled as an angry person, right? You see what I'm saying? These are all of the things that we have been up against our entire lives. Our entire lives. So don't let somebody tell you that you're being hysterical and to stop making a scene and that you're being overly emotional. When somebody says that to you, you tell them you are in complete control of how you are acting and you're choosing to act that way. So mind your own business. Don't let people bully you and browbeat you and make you feel bad about having reasonable emotional responses to situations that happen in your life. And the last limiting belief I want to talk about today is women are supposed to be selfless. That's right. We are supposed to put everybody's needs ahead of ours, right? Everybody else gets taken care of. And that is a great situation for everybody else, but not for us. When is it our turn? And if we have the audacity to want to spend some time on our own, do something nice for ourselves, well, then we're selfish. We look back at earlier generations and we talk about all that women had to do. And this was a lot of it, before women were predominantly working outside of the home. They had a lot to do aside from any job that they may have held outside of the home. And we often look back at the generation before Gen X, boomers and the silent generation, as when the family unit was a priority, and that since women started working out of the home, that's when divorces started and that families are not staying together like they used to. What do you think the real source of that is? Is it the fact that women are overwhelmed? Can women not handle having a job and taking care of the house and the kids? Or, and it can be more than one thing, it can be both of these at the same time, or were women miserable back then and they had no way to get out? Because if you remember, women couldn't even get a credit card until like 1973 or 74. They couldn't buy property and put it in their name unless their father or their husband signed for it. So the progress that women have made over the last couple of decades has empowered us to make the choices that are right for us and our children. And we don't need to stay in a miserable marriage anymore. And it's not setting a good example to your children to show them that their happiness doesn't matter. Because if you think about it, would you want your daughter to stay in a marriage that's as unhappy as yours is if she were to be in a similar marriage for her children? Because that's what you're teaching her. You're teaching her that what you want and your happiness is not important at all. It's just about the children. And that's not right. And if you are living that way, that's probably why you're not very happy. Just calling it like I see it. So prioritizing yourself may feel selfish because you and everybody in your life is not used to you getting your needs met. And you deserve to have your needs met. It's really that simple because you matter. Your life matters. You don't have to wait until a certain time. You don't have to wait until the kids are grown. You don't have to wait until your husband retires. You don't have to wait. You can do things for you right now. And that's what I want you to do. So, with that said, I thank you once again for being here. Please do me a huge favor and leave me a review if you have not done so. Make sure that you hit that subscribe or follow button. That way you will get notified each time there is a brand new episode of The Hopefulist. And if something today resonated with you, feel free to share this podcast with your friends. You can copy the link and send it right to them. You can post it on your social media. Share one of my social media posts on your social media. I will be your best friend if you do that because I love when people do that. And there are a few people that do that on a regular basis, and I am eternally grateful for it. So, with all of that said, I would like you to go out there and be badass this week, because you know that I am always here cheering you on. Thank you for listening to The Hopefulist. Please visit my website at hopefulist.com and always remember, you matter.